Kerala has erupted in a sexual harassment and sexual abuse storm. 17 women and counting have come forward to file complaints about sexual misconduct against some of the biggest superstars of the Malayalam film industry. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo Story. In a moment from now, we'll be talking to actor and BJP leader Khushbu Sundar, somebody who has also been a member of the National Commission for Women, somebody who has also spoken out very bravely and courageously, first on this platform, about being a sexual abuse survivor herself. She, in fact, opened up to me about being a child when she was abused by her father. And as a sexual abuse survivor today, she'll be speaking about what she sees unfolding in the film industry. Not just in Kerala, we are today hearing voices from the Tamil movie industry as well. And Khushbu has always been blunt and consistent in raising her voice, perhaps coming from that unique perspective of having been a survival herself. Khushbu, as I've been reading these horrific headlines out of what's happening in the Kerala film industry, now voices also coming out in the Tamil film industry, I think back to, how many conversations we've had about your own experience at the hands of your father. You've always been so brave in talking about that, and we'll speak about that a little later in the conversation. But as an actor, not just as a BJP leader today, as an outspoken woman, when you see the headlines that are coming out of Kerala, what are your first thoughts?
Barkha, to be very honest, this comes as a huge shock because the names which I see have been given out, they're one of the finest talents I have worked with. And never ever when I was working with them, they have misbehaved or there was even an iota of any kind of a message or underlined somewhere that they're capable of something like that. See, the allegations and the accusations are there. I wouldn't call them culprits. I wouldn't call them the criminals because a thorough investigation has to happen. This report has been lying with the government for the last 5 years. They should have actually released the reports long ago. I don't know why they didn't release the reports. They say that 50 to 60 pages from these reports have been omitted. A lot of names have been omitted. We do not know what happened to those names or what happened to those 50, 60 pages from a complete commission report. I stand with the women who have been abused. They have been exploited. And that exploitation comes because you have been vulnerable at some point. I completely agree that why these women did not speak, because the commission report has come, it was ready 5 years back, and all these the kind of allegations, accusations you see in this, they all are again more than 5 to 10 years ago. So it's almost like between 12 to 15 years back are these allegations and the accusations about. So such old reports, it has taken them such a long time to speak about it because this was about exploitation. Many come and ask, are these women not also part and parcel of this because it was between two consensual adults? You agreed to be part of this compromise. Why are you complaining today? That is the other side, what some people speak. But I would also like to say that it's not easy for a woman to come out and speak when this kind of a proposal is given to her. Somebody approaches her to compromise so that she can get some work. When somebody in a very superior position or above you understands you are probably in a very, very awkward and a very desperate position where you need this job, they come up with this kind of propositions and they exploit you. See, as a woman, I will say the first time it has happened to me once, and I have been talking about this also, that in all my career, it's been more than 4 decades I have been in the South cinema. Nobody has approached me except very initially one producer did. And this is just after I told you about how my father tried to sell me. And after that, one producer came over and I had to just remove my chappal and show it to him कि boss, ये मेरी 41 size is the size of my chappal. यहाँ मार खाओगे या unit के सामने खाओगे. But not every woman has that courage to do so.
Hmm.
I had the courage because I had the courage to stand up against my abuser. So I had the courage to stand up against anyone for that matter. I could have done the same to anybody. But not everybody is privileged like that. Not everybody is born with this kind of strength. They're so vulnerable. Probably they have a position where they need the job desperately. They have a family to look after. They have somebody, an ailing parent or someone to look after. They have fought with the families and they have come into cinema hoping to make it big. So they have been cut off by the family. They do not have anything else to fall back upon. It's like only this or nothing else. And that is when they have been abused, probably, and that is why their vulnerability has been exploited. See, for me, the names which come, it comes as a surprise. But I say that there has to be a thorough investigation. And if guilty, they have to be punished.
You said that some people say that, oh, this was consensual. I think today we have understood that where there is a sexual relationship with a power asymmetry, where your job depends on it, where you're very young, where you're very vulnerable, the idea of consent is not so simple, right? So I think we have to also talk about that. Today, when we talk about a Monica Lewinsky or Bill Clinton, we do not look at it in the same way as we looked at it 3 decades ago. The fact is that I have been speaking to actors over the last few days, and they say the casting couch is real. You say this has happened, but I think it's very important to talk about the fact that consent is not so simple.
Exactly. The consent is not so simple. And that's why I say the exploitation. Because if the consent is simple, then everybody would do it. And my argument with this release of this report so late, 5 years late, is that probably the men who have been named or somebody else, I am saying how many more women they would have probably exploited in the last 5 years. It has taken 5 years for the report, though it was ready, it has taken 5 years to come into the forefront. So how long it would have happened, you don't know. How many more women would have been abused in such a manner, we don't know. But I'm glad that this report has come out today, because it is going to send a very, very clear message to the men that they cannot mess around. It's today or tomorrow. You will be paying for your karma. You will be facing the music for the way that you abuse women. You cannot get away with it. You just cannot get away with it. Yes, it's a rude shock to me. Yes, there are times when I'm like in two minds. Is this real? It comes as a rude shock to me, being part and parcel of this industry for so many years. I have worked with people who probably have gone out of the way to protect us. And I'm not saying when I became a star, even initially, even in my first film, or even when I was just my third or fourth film in Tamil, I have seen people like Karthik going and hitting the crowd. I have seen people like Venkatesh going and hitting someone in the crowd because somebody passed a lewd comment and brushed against me or touched me inappropriately in a crowd. So I have worked with those kind of people. I have seen directors and producers protecting us and taking in front of an unruly crowd. So, it takes a little while to accept that probably these things do happen. And it's not easy for someone like me when I say the film industry is my family, that somebody from my family has been exploiting women. It takes a little while to accept the bitter truth.
We have seen mass resignations by the cine artist body led by Mr. Mohanlal. There have been actors like Parvati who told me that she was not impressed by this. She thought this was cowardly, that instead of resigning, how do you respond?
I would like to think otherwise. I know Mr. Lal very well. Parvati is absolutely entitled to her opinion in her thinking. She has been part of these committee when the women filed these cases and who fought for this HEMA commission. But I would like to think otherwise, and I will say that Mr. Mohanlal, knowing him, He resigned on moral grounds. He thought probably that I have been here in this position and I was not able to protect the women from my industry. I did not give them that kind of faith. I did not give them that kind of understanding where these women could reach out to me and speak to me. I think the entire Amma has been dismantled. Everybody has resigned is basically on moral grounds. And I am sure Mr. Lal and the others from Amma are going to come back with a solid uh, plan as to how to protect the women in our film industry.
Yeah. Um, what about the delay? The fact that this report has 11 redacted paragraphs, we don't know why. Is it to protect the privacy of the victims or survivors? We don't know. It took nearly 5 years for this report to be placed in the public domain. Parvati was telling me that some of the panel members were also quite sexist. One of the members were commenting on the clothes that the women appearing before the panel were wearing. How do you respond to that, Khushbu?
You have all kind of people in this world, and that's why this world makes it everything is about women. I mean, I remember when we had two young first time parliamentarians from West Bengal entering the parliament, and there was something which they were very comfortable with, and there was so much of hue and cry about it. Why are you wearing something to this parliament? I mean, you don't have a written rule that you have to come only in sari or a khadi to parliament. You don't have a written rule. And I think they were dressed up very decently, and the young girls, they were wearing clothes according to their age. So you will have people sitting and judging, and I say that let them do it, because probably that is where they find satisfying their own egos, satisfying their own inferiority complex, because they can never be you. They can never be me or Parvati or anybody else, women who had the courage to fight back. So somewhere it hits the ego of the men and women also at times, because women also become judgmental. Are wo kya kar rahi thi? What was she wearing? And the problem with women not coming out in open and speaking about is, Barkha, you and I have been through it. So the first initial thing is the shock. The shock is, why me?
Yeah.
And after that, it comes, will I be blamed for somebody else's actions? Will they believe, what will they believe me when I tell them this happened to me? Will they accept it? Secondly, the societal pressures, where the questions, like Parvati said, that somebody from the panel were also sexist. So, it will come, what did you do to entice him? You would have probably given him one lead to come and approach you.
Yeah.
You would have probably given him a finger where he's trying to hold your entire arm. So it's always the victim shaming happens by the society. Nobody wants to think that why this woman went through and what kind of a trauma this woman went through. See, 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, if that woman speaks now, we understand that probably in these 15 years or these 10 long years, this women who are coming out and speaking today, they probably wouldn't have slept very peacefully in all these years. The trauma continues to haunt you every night when you go to sleep. I went through it till I spoke to you. And it's not that I was holding back when I spoke to you.
Yeah.
I thought I need to release myself from the burden which I'm carrying for so many long years. And trust me, after speaking to you, I have been sleeping like a log. It relieves you. It relieves you. It gives you so much. It takes off. You feel that something, a burden which is unseen, unspoken, but you have been carrying it for so many years. It is suddenly, you have left it somewhere behind and you feel so light. And I'm sure all these women who are talking today go through the same emotion. So I'm saying, if you cannot be sympathetic towards these women today, people, the society who wants to see, yes, there are two sides of the coin. I myself agree there are always two sides of a coin. But if a woman's vulnerability is exploited, I think you really need to think. If you cannot show sympathy towards women, you have to be at least empathetic towards them on humanitarian grounds. You cannot be judgmental. You cannot come with preconceived assumptions that this is how these women are. I was going through some kind of thing today, and some comments, and there is a man who is a lech, and he says that what these women are talking about integrity and उनकी अपनी इज्जत, ये सब औरतें बिकाऊ हैं, अपने आप को बेच के
Mm.
कमाती हैं. I'm like, what kind of a mentality? Are you even born to a woman? Are you even
Yeah.
raised by a mother? I mean, it sends you, these thoughts. So, you have these kind of people around who become absolutely judgmental about the women, not the men. They don't turn around and ask the men, what gave you the courage to hold a woman's hand or to brush against her or force yourself on her? They don't ask the
Yeah.
men. They always become judgmental about a woman's character. And this is what actually makes a woman to take a back seat and never speak about it.
Yeah. I just want to first thank you for your courage. And I also want to thank you for trusting me with what you went through. I know now your experience is documented and people know about it. But I remember that first time when you and I sat down and you spoke about being a child of 8. You were 8 years old when your father started abusing you, Khushbu. And I can't imagine what you've gone through and how much bravery it takes to open up about it. So thank you for trusting me with that account. You also spoke about how later your father tried to sell you in the
Yes.
industry, right?
Yes.
Uh, he tried to sell you for 25,000 rupees a
Yes.
night. And
Yes.
today, when you look at the tales coming out of the industry and you remember what your father tried to do and tried to sell you to other producers sexually,
Yes.
what goes through your heart? What goes through your heart and mind?
So I wouldn't want to compare the both because I say I went through this trauma in the hands of the man who's supposed to guide me, who's supposed to hold my hand and take me on the right path if I deviate from the right path. So I don't even want to compare that to what the women are going through today. But I do understand when a woman is traumatized sexually, what she goes through. I completely understand. I went through that for 8 long years. 8 long years. There was a news just day before yesterday in a newspaper in South, in Chennai, where it said an 11-year-old kid, she has been abused by one of her relatives for 2 years. She didn't even know that because that man told her that it's a very natural thing to do. And she realized about it only when the teacher gave them a lesson on good touch and bad touch. And that is when this 11-year-old kid went and spoke to the teachers, and they in turn spoke to the parents about it, that how this girl has been abused by her own relative. Imagine what the child goes through at the age of 11. These women, they were not 11-year-old kids. Some were desperate for work. Some, like we say, that probably they were in a position where they could not even refuse. They gave in to the pressures. They succumbed to the so-called norms to get famous and successful. Any which ways you look at it, it haunts you. It haunts you. So I think
Absolutely.
so. I think it's important that we stand with these women. Yes, I say there has to be a thorough investigation. And I say that because I have been part of NCW. And when we get these kind of reports, it's just that we don't take action immediately. We investigate the cases. There have been times when we see some cases are absolutely false cases. Some woman would have filed a case only to spite a man or to take a personal a personal vengeance. So I want to think otherwise. I want to understand, and I want to believe that all these cases are real. And I want a thorough investigation where I do not want any man, whichever position he might be in, whichever position he occupies, the chair he occupies, or where he is in the society today, if a man has wronged a woman, forced himself. And I say, if you exploit a woman, exploit her vulnerability, you are forcing yourself on her. And if you're forcing yourself on a woman, despite knowing that any other time should have probably said no, but you
Yeah.
understand that now is what she needs it, so let me get the maximum out of her, and you exploit her, then he needs to be punished.
Yeah, and that's why the idea of defining what consent is so important, because something that is theoretically consensual but comes with an abuse of power, or is inflicted on a woman in exchange for her giving her work, that is not consent. I want to
Yes.
end with asking you. You said that you know what it feels like to be sexually abused and harassed because you experienced it for 8 long years at the hands of the man you would have or should have trusted the most. How do we avoid, Khushbu, the politicization of sexual violence? How do we avoid that when violence or rape takes place in Kolkata, the TMC springs to defend their conduct? In Kerala, the CPM defends its conduct. And when Brij Bhushan Saran Singh happens or Bilkis Bano happens, the BJP of which you are a part defends its conduct. I should say that when Bilkis Bano's rapists walked out, you were among the few people in your party, women in your party who spoke out, and you said your daughters would not have forgiven you had you not done it. I remember talking to you then.
Absolutely.
How do we how do we avoid this politicization and this double standards on the conversation around sexual violence?
Politicians have to understand when a woman is raped in this country, she's the daughter of this country who's raped. She is not part of TMC. She is not part of any BJP. She is not part of Congress, or she is not part of NCP or any other political party for damn in this country. The country of this woman is raped. Period. We have to start looking at it that way. You cannot categorize women according to your whims and cries and politicize it. No, you cannot politicize it. You cannot play with the dignity and integrity of a woman and say that this happened in this place, this didn't happen the other place. If a woman is raped, a woman is raped, period. We have to take the responsibility. We have, all of us, we talk about the society. Who makes the society? We build the society, we make the society, we make the rules, we decide how everybody should behave in this. And I say men should stop looking at women as an item of or an object of desire. Men should be brought up rather than telling a woman, saying that you don't go out at that hour. Are tumko raat ko 10 baje kyun bahar nikalna hai? Why do you want to be part of the pub culture? Why do you want to take your work at night shift? I'm saying, tell your men and bring these, the Cinderella hours for women. I say bring these Cinderella hours for men. Tell men that tu raat ko ghar ke 10 baje ke bahar nahi jayega, because probably you are going to pose a threat to the woman. You are not going to be seen in the pub because probably you might be drunk and you will misbehave with a woman. You are not going to go out at particular area because women are going to be there and we do not trust you that you might behave yourself. I think all these Cinderella hours should come for the men. Men should wear these glass shoes and then behave and then they will realize, that when they have these hours and say that, okay, I am restricted, I think that's when we are going to bring in the change. And this change has to come from every home, every mother, every father. And I would say no mother should tolerate any kind of violence or abuse, sexual, physical, or even verbal at home. Be a silent, victim, where the son sees the mother growing up to this and he thinks that, okay, it's my birthright to abuse women verbally, sexually, physically, any which ways, because my mother was silent. My mother never spoke. So it's my birthright to abuse
Yeah.
a woman. I think it should start at home, where a woman should have the courage. The first time a man raises his hand, tell him that she has the guts, she can raise her hands too. And
Yeah.
any kind of abuse, any kind of relationship, it has to be a two-way traffic. It cannot be a one-way traffic. Especially marriage cannot be a one-way traffic. You respect me, and if you expect me to respect you as my better half, you better respect me as the other better half.
I just want to say thank you, because in all these weeks, I don't think we've heard somebody come out and say a woman raped. It doesn't matter if you're from TMC, BJP, DMK, whatever party, CPM, NCP. And thank
Anything.
you for saying, yeah, and thank you for saying bring the Cinderella hours for men. I think that really needed to be said.
Absolutely. You need to bring that.
Thank you, Khushbu. We're going to have a longer conversation in person, but thank you for being you, for speaking about your own experiences so bravely, and also standing up for other women. Thank you so much.
Thank
Take
you
care.
very much for making me so comfortable so that I could speak.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, Gorkha. See you soon.
Bye-bye. Bye. See you soon.
Bye. Yeah.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.